Two members of the U.S. House is Republican Abraham Hamadeh of Arizona. He's had a career as an attorney and served as a captain in the U.S. Army Reserve. He talks here about his professional work and his background as the son of immigrants from Syria.
I always say to get to know me, you have to first get to know my family. So my parents immigrated from Syria back in the late 80s, and I was born in Chicago, and that's where they came to the country when they first landed here. And it was a total American dream story, right? I mean, they had no money, they were entrepreneurs, and through sheer luck and a lot of grit, they achieved the American dream. But truly, how we ended up in Arizona is kind of a funny story. So my father, he won the lottery. It was $50,000, so it wasn't life-changing at the time, but at the time it was. But it included a stay in Arizona at the Scottsdale Princess Resort when it first opened up in January. So as you can imagine, they left Chicago's O'Hare Airport, they landed at Phoenix Sky Harbor, and they looked at each other and they said, wow, we found the Middle East of America. So it was an easy decision for them to move out there, and it's been my home. I've been there since I was 6 years old, and just a beautiful story. I got an older brother and an older sister. My sister, she's got 6 beautiful children. My brother's got 2 beautiful children. So all of us achieved the American dream in just one generation. So it's definitely possible. The American dream is well and alive right now.
What did your parents' lives and experiences teach you?
To me, they taught me that you have to work hard. I mean, for them, I always say running for Congress wasn't as difficult as an immigrant moving to a country where you don't speak the language, where you don't know everything going on, and for them to open up a business, and a successful business, and to go into real estate and to provide for a family like that was truly remarkable. So I give so much credit for them, and just to work hard, to get educated, and to give back to the community.
And now you're one of the first 2 Middle Eastern Americans to represent your state in Congress. What does that distinction mean to you?
Well, it doesn't mean too much for me in the sense I just see myself as an American. That's why I joined the military. But I kind of go against labels. I think when you're in the United States, the American brand right now is doesn't matter if you're black, white, doesn't matter what race, gender, what ethnicity, religion you are, as long as you support the United States, wear the flag proudly, and support our Constitution. That's what I'm about.
Were politics part of the conversation growing up?
Only when I got into high school, back in 2008. That was Obama. John McCain from Arizona was running, so only at that time. And I was supporting Ron Paul for president back in '08 as a young high school student, and that's kind of what first got me involved in politics.
Tell us about your formal education.
Yeah, I went to Arizona State University, political science, spent some time in D.C. as an intern, believe it or not, back when I was 18 years old, and then went to the University of Arizona for law school.
What got you interested in the law?
It was honestly just giving back to the community. I always wanted to be a prosecutor, watching those shows, Law and Order and everything. It's just one of those, most lawyers are, and I could say this because I did run for Attorney General at one point, but most lawyers are boring. But as prosecutors, you get to see some very interesting cases, and you actually get to feel an impact when you're talking to the victims and getting justice for them. So I really enjoyed it.
Where have you been in terms of your legal career, and what other kind of work have you done? What do you remember most?
Well, as a prosecutor, it was kind of interesting. I was a prosecutor from 2017 to 2022, and worked on domestic violence cases, worked on a lot of community-based cases. But it was doing the trial work I always found fun, and it was actually a good way for politics. We were talking and communicating with the jury in order to make sure that they go for a guilty verdict, right? You have to convince them about the case. So I always enjoyed that aspect, just being there with the judge, going in front of a jury trial, and getting to know defense counsel. But it was not as adversarial as you see on TV a lot of times. But it was good to seek justice for the people.
You mentioned your military service. You were a member of the U.S. Army Reserve, a captain,
yes.
I believe. What made you first sign up?
Well, I was an intelligence officer as well, and I signed up in law school, believe it or not. And again, it was just my parents instilled in me public service. And too often you see, especially this generation, only less than 1% of Americans now serve in the armed forces. I found that to be the best decision I've ever done. Surpasses law, surpasses everything. And why is that? Because it's the one institution in our country that unites people of all different backgrounds, no matter if you're from the South, from the West, or anywhere. And you're wearing that American flag on your right shoulder sleeve, and you're there for a common purpose. And I was proud to serve my country overseas in Saudi Arabia with the United States Army Reserve for 14 months. I was there post Pensacola terrorist attack from 2019, so I was there to implement enhanced security vetting guidelines to make sure a terrorist attack doesn't happen again from one of our foreign allies like that.
When did you first start thinking about elective politics?
Right when I got back from my Army deployment from Saudi Arabia. I came back in September of 2021, and I looked around and I said, I no longer recognize my country. And for a young man to say that, it just shows you how quickly our country was changing. And we can always just talk about it, or you can actually take action. So I decided to run for Attorney General in 2022. I would have been the youngest statewide Attorney General since Bill Clinton, believe it or not. But it was a very meaningful race. We had President Trump's support in that race, and ultimately it didn't go our way. It was decided by 280 votes out of 2.5 million, the closest race in Arizona history. I fought that in the courts. The corrupt courts in Arizona, but ultimately it led me to Congress because the people saw me as a fighter, and I know I'm going to make election integrity one of my top issues here.
Were you always a Republican?
Pretty much, yeah. I was always a conservative Republican. Again, when I got involved with Ron Paul back in '08, as a high school student, that kind of formulated my first political philosophy.
What does it mean to be a Republican in 2025?
It means that you're tough and you're a fighter, because this Republican Party is not like what it used to be. I mean, now it's no longer the party of big business, it's the party of the people. I think that's the most significant change that President Trump and this America First movement has really catapulted Republicans. It has really gotten them to have a compass and a sense of direction of where we're going.
Serving now in Congress, we talked about your career in the Army Reserve. What is it about service that drives you most?
Honestly, this country is the greatest country on the face of this earth, and too often I see politicians or people in public service where they're trying to implement, their far left ideology. It's time for my generation to step up and to give back, and clearly it's been resonating since my time running for office. And I've served all my life. I've taken the oath of office, the Constitution, as a prosecutor, as an intelligence officer, and now as a member of Congress, and it's the greatest honor of my life.
What does your family think about you being here?
They were here for my swearing-in ceremony. It was really beautiful to have them here. They were amazed, right? My father and my mother, they were up in the stands up there on the House floor, and they got to see me vote for Speaker Mike Johnson as well. And for them, they could never dream that this could happen, right? And just a true American dream story, so I feel very blessed.
You are 33 years old. You're one of a good number of members, freshman members, who are under the age of 40. Tell us as we wrap up what you would like your voice and the voice of your generation to bring to this place.
I think it's a different perspective. We grew up without social media, but now we have social media. So we're kind of in that in-between phase of life. And now you see kids, all their life's been on the iPad. They call them iPad babies. But I think for now, it's to have that perspective that technology can be a tool and it can be useful, but we can't forget that human touch and that human element, which requires relationships and maintaining those. So for us, our generation, is to make sure that the American dream is alive for future generations to come, which I think so many people right now are so scared because of the last few years under the Democrats. But hopefully now with Republicans back in charge, we're going to be unified to pass this America First agenda.